Welcome everyone to the CATAPULT Lockdown Virtual Salon program. Welcome in. Going to give some people some time to fill up these seats inside. Now, welcome to episode 25 of CATAPULT's Virtual Lockdown Virtual Salon program. This is going to be a wonderful afternoon because I'm DJ Simmons and I will be in discussion with Kevin Richard Bhall of Trinidad and Tobago. He's an animator. Now, before we begin, I know we're all excited, but before we begin, I'd like to express a humongous thank you to the CATAPULT partners, including the American Friends of Jamaica, the Kingston Creative, and of course, Fresh Milk of Barbados for making this series of the Virtual Lockdown Salon possible. It would not be possible, yes? So I want to give a huge thank you once again. Now, please, guys, as you're coming onto the YouTube, as you're coming in, welcome. Now, feel free to share your comments and your questions in the comment section during the talk. As we are speaking, something may hit your brain and you want to insert it at the same time, because we're going to be choosing those questions and answering them in the question and answer segment that is going to be coming up at the ending of the show. Yes, so please get your questions in. And before we start, I must tell you guys to subscribe to the Fresh Milk YouTube channel. They are doing some incredible work, not only interviews like this, but also past interviews as well as what's going to come up in the future of Fresh Milk. So make sure to subscribe to the Fresh Milk YouTube channel. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome animator from Trinidad. This man has almost 40,000 followers on social media, and I'm sure you will be one of them too when this is all over. Please, from the land of Trinidad and Tobago, welcome Kevin Bhall.
Hello, good evening. I'm glad to be here. Thanks again to also CATAPULT and their partners for setting this whole thing up. As mentioned, I'm a self-taught animator, and the best way to really see what it is I'm talking about is to show one of the videos. I think we have one here. And
Wow, that's incredible examples of work there, Kevin. I actually recognize a video game, it's a tribute to a video game that I used to play called Chrono Trigger. That's Chrono Trigger down there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. So
Yes.
that I glad I was able to recognize. When I saw that so many years ago, I said, one day I have to draw this moment. And
Right. Nice. We also saw scraps in there as well, and well,
right, yes.
that's also one of your works, and we have such a nice visual example of what you do as an animator. But I am sure that you didn't just turn up one day and just start animating. You would have had to start from somewhere. So, could you just give us just tell us how you began your art career and what other kinds of art forms did you actually dabble in? What have you done before?
Well, everybody does animations, in the corner of their books and things, especially books that probably shouldn't be drawing in. But
Right,
well,
right.
I mean, most people, I suppose, they stop. I guess the difference is that just didn't stop. So starting out, that way, and it was kind of a easy transition into doing it digitally. I got a computer in about 2001, and I was able to kind of transition it there. So I mean, you see, there's a lot of people, they still have to have that kind of background in drawing by hand on paper first, to kind of more easily translate it, So I was
Right,
forced to do it for the years that I didn't have a computer. So,
right.
it was easy to kind of move on to that. Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of people who love the traditions. There are a lot of persons who would rather have a physical book in their hand than reading on the iPad and what's not. For you, I know would have had to be in a transition from drawing, as you say, in the corner of the exercise book at school and then on paper to actually drawing straight onto the pad into the computer itself. So how was that transition for you, going from paper to the computer?
Well, it's more of a necessity because you're dealing with thousands of drawings, so you kind of want to avoid the step of scanning each one.
Yeah.
Um, Back in the day, we didn't have screens to draw on and stuff. We had to, so it was, they used something called a graphic tablet, and you would
Yes.
be drawing on the table and be looking up there, so there was a bit of a disconnect, so,
Right.
a lot of people, if they're not starting out with that kind of thing, they might want to tape a piece of paper to the thing, just to
Okay.
kind of start off with the feeling of drawing on paper and then kind of
Right.
move on eventually, yeah. But,
Well,
it's a necessity in the modern times, yeah.
well, we could definitely see your passion for doodling that has launched now into animation and being a professional animator in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, being an animator in Trinidad, that it's not like if Trinidad is the home of Disney and Pixar and
Mm.
DreamWorks, so there must be challenges as a animator from Trinidad. But you have found the opportunity to work with other small businesses and content creators. Could you tell us about some of the projects that you would have collaborated on? Whether is it YouTube or
Um, yeah, most of the people is met through social media,
Mhm.
websites like Imager, Reddit, Instagram, all these places. Sometimes I reach out to people, sometimes they reach out to me. For things like music videos, YouTube intros, and a lot of people doing personalized animations. It makes kind of a unique gift because it's like
Mhm.
um, normally you think of a gift as a physical object, but animation is kind of like a painting, but the next step, so you get a
Right.
lot of there's these digital photo frames,
Yes.
that you can actually have like videos and stuff playing,
Mhm.
so that is kind of a unique thing. A
Mhm.
lot of people do like, couple with their loved ones, or so
Mhm.
one interesting thing, a unique thing kind of is people like to do pet portraits,
Yes.
of the pets that maybe some of them are passed on or some of them still living, but it's such a
Right.
unusual thing that you might have never think that there could be a market for this, but yeah,
Right.
these are unique things that you could produce with animation. Phone lock screens, customized phone lock screens. That's another thing. Mm-hmm.
And in your own words, because you're speaking about these unique ways of actually adding animation to enhance the lives of people. But in your own words, why is animation so important? How does animation actually add to showcasing a product or showcasing, as you said, a loved one or family member on a screen? What about animation makes that even better?
Well, you could present things in kind of an idealized way, in a way that maybe it wasn't exactly like that. You don't have like one interesting thing with the pets. You might not have had that one picture with the pet because, they ain't staying still, so you have this idea, you'd like to remember them this way, and, animation allows you to do things that you could not have done in real life. You could not have gotten that particular moment or been in that particular place, so often is a composite of things too, like I talked to the person, they went to this place and they wish they had a dog there or something like that. Each case is different, but these are all interesting things that animation could bring to the table,
Nice. I love that. So you're speaking about working on these unique projects. Now, are these unique projects just home in Trinidad, or have you actually connected with some persons overseas as well?
Well, because of the market here and kind of sadly the low acceptance of animation and also the pay for it is the next thing. Obviously, if something takes 1 second on screen, it must take you at most 2 seconds or 3 to make it, That is kind of the outlook of it here, So most of the work is really from outside of Trinidad, And you really have access to a larger market. We realistically, apart from people not really accepting or wanting to pay for it, it's just that we have such a small market, and we need to really look at the larger world, and all these platforms are just so necessary that they could get the work out there,
So what are some of these platforms that you use to get your work out there? What's some of the tools that you use?
Yeah, you had to use every one, Imager for one, that is one that maybe people don't know about, but that is kind of an image sharing site. There's Reddit, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. A lot of people don't like Facebook, but look, it just have a lot of people on it, all of these things together. Well, obviously YouTube, you never know who's gonna see it and what they're gonna like, So you need to be on all of those things, It's a lot of work, but you have to do it.
So you mentioned something just now a little bit earlier when you were speaking about it takes at least 2 to 3 or 4 seconds or so to make that thing that you've watched for 1 second. How hard it is sometimes to actually explain that to one of your clients to get people to understand, or maybe understand why the price may be this much for animation. How hard is that sometimes for you to communicate?
Well, I've kind of given up in Trinidad. It's like I don't know what to tell you. It's like sometimes it's like getting blood from a stone. You have better luck with the stone. But so that's why you really had to kind of look outside, especially with something as unusual as this. Maybe some of the other artists that are traditional painters, you have something that you could possess. So you could see the understanding in buying it. But you can't possess animation in the same way. So there's maybe a gap or something that in the region they don't have quite understanding for that, but your online portfolio, like you mentioned, the followers, that is something that you could show, well, you have a track record, you have an audience, and that is why you could, that is part of why it costs so much,
Right. Well, you're speaking about the online portfolio, and I must say your online portfolio is very commendable, sir, because ladies and gentlemen, this young man has almost 40,000 followers on Instagram. You can follow him. What's your Instagram handle again, Kevin?
Yes, it's at Bloopily1. It's kind of a strange thing. I think they'll probably put a link below. It was just something that there's actually just a Bloopily, but I forgot the password for that one. So that is how I had the already one. But more people know that name than my real name. So
okay.
I need to change my name legally to that now.
You might get more business if you change your name to that.
Probably.
But when we spoke before, you spoke about a particular Instagram account that had one of your videos on their account and I believe it has 7 million views. You were saying, and that is actually what helped you to grow your followers. Could you tell us more about that?
Right, we could well, yeah, so basically sharing it in different places, obviously they're gonna have people kind of taking them and making compilations of them, and I know somebody actually did that. And I think that side 9gag saw it, and they asked me then, because I had my watermark and stuff on it, if they could share it, and they did, and they have a huge following, so that you get a lot of people following you from being featured on their site, so that is kind of like a good thing about, theft, is like, yeah, you're not getting money directly, but you're able to get it on just through happenstance, and able to end up in a place, on a platform that is really great for you, so I mean, that for people starting out, don't worry too much, put your watermark on it, and put it out there, because if it remains on the computer, ain't nobody going to see it, and it's not going to do anybody any good,
How much followers you think you would have estimated that you received from that video being shared on that very popular account? How many followers you think you got?
Initially, it was probably 20,000 around there, and then I think they shared it again, shared something else again, and there was another 20,000 people, yeah.
So, but this isn't the only multi-million view video you've been a part of.
Yes.
There's also another 9 million view video on YouTube. Tell us about that, Kevin.
Right. So that is like also another person, that I have no contact with. They take a compilation of not just my animation, but like a lot of them, and kind of use them, and I mean, the work is out there, you can't really clamp down on it as much as you'd like, but I mean, as long as your watermark is on it, at least something gets back to you, and you can't worry too much, because like I say, if it remains on your computer alone or in your book alone, it's not going to benefit anybody, I don't know if you want to show the video at some time. They could actually get an idea to see. Or what do you think?
Yeah. Let's show that video now.
All right.
I can't help but laugh. So basically, what you were doing is showcasing how animation could add so much magic to everyday things and give them a complete different spin and a different understanding. And that's a good job. They could hear the chuckles and the snickers of the other persons that are watching the video as well as they saw that clip.
I hope so. And horrified screams, some of them,
Right.
People like the. You get a lot of people like the funny ones, but you get a lot of reactions from the some of the more savage ones,
Right. So this is all a strategy for you, though, isn't it? Like creating these fun and dramatic doodles that actually draw an audience to you, so they could find out what you really do. You want to go into this strategy of creating these viral doodles, as you would call them.
Right. Yeah. So, well, I mean, the actual term for them is actually real life doodles. There's a whole subreddit for that kind of thing. Where they are. Maybe some of my friends from the subreddit looking on right now. I don't know. Nice. But
welcome, guys. Welcome.
Yeah. But basically, it's difficult for something to go viral, and I tried many different kinds of animation, as you see in the first clip, not this one, but the one before. all of those were animations that are made, you know, and they're not really made to go viral, you know, and it's difficult to make them go viral. You know, you have to get something short, kind of punchy, immediate, something that you could easily share fast on WhatsApp, Facebook, you know, Instagram, whatever, all these different places, you know. And these doodles are something that could do that. You know,
why do you think that people respond to these so easily, these short format things?
Yeah, because it's so, you know, it's so quickly digestible. You know, most of them not over 30 seconds long. Right. You know, 30 seconds is like, you know, epic in terms of doodles. You know, most of them are like, you know, just a few seconds long because they kind of have that immediacy of it. You know, you see it, right. and the place where they usually just loop one time. You know, so you kind of get a repeat viewing and thing too. You know, so that they could consume it and, you know, kind of consume it again. You know, it's like it's part of the whole kind of internet culture and meme culture and that kind of thing. You know, all that stuff you see on Facebook, somebody just make each and every one of them. You know, and I happen to be one of the people that is make them. Nice. So, you know, and as you mentioned, you know, kind of having these things go viral. You know, by the way, in case you want, you can also commission animation. You know, or sometimes even doodles themselves, because sometimes people use them to market stuff, you know, because like they might have a product and you could anthropomorphize the product, you know, you have it as kind of a human-like character. So
no, go on.
Yeah, you know, so I've had a couple of people, one in particular was a bar that wanted a doodle done of something that they had in their bar, you know, so even though I'm kind of using it to sell other kinds of animation that I do, or to advertise other animations that I do. Sometimes people use them directly. You know, there's a couple instances of that. Yeah.
Nice. That was actually what I was about to ask you. If you have a story of how you actually see the doodles actually bringing in business. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to this episode, Catapult Lockdown Virtual Studio. We are here with Kevin Bhall. My name is DJ Simmons, speaking to him about animation and the way how we make he makes us laugh and chuckle. He brings us into his world, and then he gets to showcase all of his magic of the real animations that he puts in. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, there is a question and answer segment. So if you have any questions, you could put them in the comments and we'll get to them when we come around to that. So Kevin, being from Trinidad and Tobago, sometimes we find that there's so much around us that influences our work and what we do. But as you said, it's very hard to get repeat and consistent work in animation from Trinidad. So in terms of how much of the Trinidadian influence goes into your work, then how important is it that you believe that creatives should craft things that is accessible to the outside international market? Do we need to be conscious of the fact that I'm going to create something, but there's going to be a global eye on my product, so I need to make sure that the whole world can understand and not just my territory here in Trinidad?
Well, I mean, you definitely have to have a balance, you know, like for example, if you look at the Scraps project and the Temple in the Sea project, you know, those things are very rooted in Trinidad, you know, they're on, especially Scraps, you can see a lot of Caribbean influences and things, you know. That is like really set here. I live in a place called Claxton Bay that, you know, there's places that kind of inspired that, you know. I just didn't draw all the garbage, you know. I kind of make it a little more idealized, you know. So that is kind of the idea behind it. But, you know, you can't hit people over the head with it, you know. It can't be too obvious. You can't. So, you know, you have to have that balance. And, you know, sometimes the project that takes off, the things that take off are not the things that may necessarily be from where you are. You know, like the doodles. The doodles are the thing that really took off. Because like Scraps was another thing that I tried. But that didn't really take off anyway because, like I say, it's harder to make a short film or a short film idea, you know, or trailer go viral as opposed to the doodles, you know. So the doodles are not really specific to Trinidad. I would say that they're probably universal. Maybe they're more universal in some ways because nobody is even saying anything, you know. You don't need to be able to speak anything to see, to see something good in a potty flying off, that's a commonality that binds all of us, Flying toilets, you don't get better than that.
Yeah, I got you. So in terms of the projects like Temple of the Sun and Scraps, what was the inspiration that really? I know you said you got the inspiration from around where you live, but where did you actually see these projects going? Like that you just created them just based on sheer creativity, or this was for a particular projects, or?
Well, Temple in the Sea is actually a short film that I was actually able to get funding for from the Trinidad Tobago Film Company. So that was a great opportunity that they gave me to be able to produce that, and that Temple in the Sea is based on a true story about Suda Sadhu, a great man who lived many decades ago and actually created a man-made peninsula out in the Gulf of Paria. In Waterloo, Trinidad, and that film kind of chronicles, his life and his work. So that's where I was inspired from,
Nice. And if someone wants to go and actually view the full Temple in the Sea, where would they find it? Where could they see it?
Well, right now I'm working with a great local company called Filmco. And they're working on how to distribute it. So like right now it's not online at the moment, unfortunately, but they're working on some things. Hopefully it'll end up on some platforms soon. But right now they've organized it to be shown on local TV, and there was recently a digital summer camp that they had it on. So there's. It's a short film, so there's different kinds of avenues for it, and that is one of the few opportunities I'd have here for us local filmmakers. It was the project was kind of headed up by a guy that also helped me produce the temple, Dion Buku, so there's people here that you could ally yourself with, that do good work too.
Right. So you were speaking just now, this all is all the local market in terms of Temple of the Sea and what's not. I'm very thankful and being very grateful for the grant, but obviously, as you were speaking about earlier, so many opportunities are out there to get international business and for global clients. When we were speaking before, you were speaking about some of the challenges that not just Trinidad, but the Caribbean has when it has to doing e-commerce and really generating money online from international clients. What's some of the challenges you have when just trying to get paid from outside clients?
Yeah, well, this is I think it's like a G-rated chat, so I can't go into as eloquent detail as I would like about the banks that we have here, but they really have us at a huge disadvantage because Trinidad has so much regulations. We can't attach PayPal to local accounts. I actually have a friend that's trying to help me with some of these things. I have a couple of friends that you kind of have to work around so many barriers that we have. Like, for example, the most immediate thing was to have a friend in the US, accept payments on your behalf and then transfer it and all kind of thing. There's a lot of workarounds that we have to do that we really shouldn't. And I hear some other Caribbean countries are better off, but Trinidad has really dropped the ball. Trinidad and Tobago has dropped the ball greatly on this because there's so many artists that I talk to that have people asking them. They come to them and ask them to do commissions, and it's like, how are you going to accept it? Nobody know about wire transfer. Barely anybody know about Western Union, and all these other kinds of things. They want PayPal and maybe a few other things, but PayPal is definitely one of the. You need that immediacy of PayPal to get some of these customers to, because it's so convenient for them. Whereas a wire transfer, you have 50 steps and then it might need reach and all kind of thing, so the lack of PayPal, the lack of being able to accept money is a huge problem. Not just, I hear, in other Caribbean countries too, and the country really needs to address that. If they're really serious about, this kind of new global market, these are digital goods. We don't need to ship them physically. So there's no reason we shouldn't be able to sell them anywhere that we want, and we should be able to receive payments, conveniently. But I don't know. Right now, everyone that I know has to do some kind of workaround because it's a huge hurdle.
Yeah, from listening to you, I actually just thought about something. I was in a discussion once with someone who was saying that there are a lot of very talented videographers and filmmakers in Barbados and of course all over the Caribbean, and they were hoping that there were ways in which some corporation or even the government could give them a grant to set up their dream studio, so that instead of having to leave the shores, because that usually seems to what a lot of people do. They start here, they grow here, they're so talented, and then they have to leave and go to Canada or the States or whoever, the Europe, to actually get access to the hardware and the technical tools they need to go forward. Why not invest in those persons while they're here, and then they can actually, as you said, it's a digital product that is exported, so they could bring in the work to the country, creating revenue for the country, and while working here and letting the money move around the actual island instead of leaving the island to go overseas. And as you were speaking, it reminded me of that, man. But I do hope that in the near future that something happens that can help.
Because knock on wood. I mean,
sure.
That is kind of an addition to this other problem. The lack of access to equipment. I was also lucky to get there was another grant called the I2I program that allowed me to get some of the equipment that I have here, because even though officially the Trinidad dollar is about 6.5 to 1 US, if you're buying something on Amazon, it's like times 10, times 12 or kind of thing, because of all the not just the shipping, but the customs that we had to pay. So I definitely with you there on those guys,
Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're having a very, very, very nice discussion. I'm really enjoying it with Kevin Bhall from Trinidad and Tobago. Once again, we want to thank all the Catapult partners, American Friends of Jamaica, Kingston Creative, Fresh Milk, of course. Thank you so much for coming in. My name is DJ Simmons. We're going to continue the conversation. Oh, to remind you as well, to put your questions in the comment section, and we're going to get to them in about 10 to 15 minutes coming up. But in the meantime, let's get back to picking the brain of Kevin Bhall. We've been having a really good conversation so far. And Kevin, when speaking about animation, which is not something that you usually hear about when you think about Trinidad, the land of soca and carnival, what do you think needs to change in terms of the mindset of both the artists, the other animators that are in Trinidad, as well as the public, in order to get persons to accept animation more? What do you think needs to change?
Well, I mean, a lot of that is out of your hands personally. I because of many bad experiences that I've had here dealing with trying to get people to I mean, you have difficulty in getting people to understand why it costs what it does. You have difficulty in even getting that across. And sometimes people they not as honest as I would like. A lot of people there's such a lack of understanding that even after you explain it, you might get to the end of a product and they're like, oh well, why this guy doesn't look like that? It's like, well, you should have said that at the beginning,
Right,
but
right.
So I mean, that is why I really kind of put most of my focus on the wider market beyond the region, because
Right.
like, and you're not going to get blood from a stone, I tell you, as I mentioned before. So it's I would rather, I mean, your energy is limited too, so you might as well put it into where it's going to be more effective, doing stuff online. I mean, it's better for your mental health too, because, the chances of somebody seeing, understanding and wanting your work exactly as it is greater the greater the audience I have, and it's difficult to get that here in the Caribbean, We have such a small amount of people. It's really a numbers game, so that is why I really had to, use all these platforms. Yeah.
I got you. So there's a question I'm going to ask you now, Kevin, that is a question that you hear in all kinds of disciplines and genres of art. Many artists struggle with this balance of, and I know you've heard the quote before of getting it done is better than getting it perfect, where many artists struggle with tweaking their work constantly without publishing it, when they're persons that, honestly, a very small subset of the community would actually recognize some of those things that you're tweaking and fixing. So, what are your opinions on that quote? Done is better than perfect.
Yeah, definitely. You have to put something out there. You can't just work on something continuously. Trying to get everything just right. And you know what? The thing that and this happens a lot. The thing that you don't like as much,
Mm-hmm.
might be the thing that takes up the most.
Yeah.
So and I mean, look, it's free to put it out. Nobody's gonna kill you if it's not perfect. And I mean,
Right.
in a lot of cases, it's free anyway. You know what?
Mhm.
Oh, if you don't like it, you get your money back. So which is nothing. So yeah, just keep on putting work out. The thing that like I say, you not believe, people don't believe it, but so it needs to be said twice. The thing that you don't like might be the thing that somebody like the most, and
Mhm.
that's the thing that goes viral.
Yeah, I
So you
got.
never know.
So do you also agree that in these times right now, and not speaking about the pandemic times, and speaking of just about how people absorb entertainment and information so quickly now, do you think it's very important then that you are consistent with the work that you're putting out so that people basically remember that you exist? Do you believe that you need to be very consistent?
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the difficult things to do. To keep on putting stuff out because you may not see the benefit of it directly. I mean, I might have drawn 50 of these things before anybody pick it up and liked it at all. So you really got to keep on doing it. And it might have one that do bad, it might have 10 of them that do bad, but you just have to keep on doing it. Like I say, it's a numbers game. Once you build up enough momentum, you know, something will happen. Knock on wood. Um, and I mean, it's like that with a lot of things. So, and especially, you can't necessarily force something to go viral. So you just have to keep on trying until something does. That is if that is what you want. Whatever
Right.
it is, whether you want to go viral or whether you want to get picked up by somebody or whatever. You just have to keep on doing it.
So we got a really good example of some of the stuff that you do and why you're doing it. But I also want to get like slightly technical for a second. And you said earlier about having to be basically a one-man studio when you're doing animation. Is there any particular part of animation that you enjoyed the most, or and is there one of those tasks that you tend not to like doing so much and wish you could pass on to somebody else to do?
Well, I think a lot of animators will say clean up. Now that is what that is like. I don't know if you ever see animation drawings when they're being produced, but they're usually very rough because you're not drawing one, you're drawing 100 at a time. You
Hmm.
know. So clean up is like where a guy had to go, or well, in my case, it had to be me. It didn't have nobody else. So somebody has to go in very carefully and kind of choose out the line that
Hmm.
this is the final line. So they kind of trace nobody drawing. That is
Hmm.
something that it would have been nice to have somebody do, but in the case of like a one man operation, it's just you. So you also have to be doing that because it's not as creative really
Hmm.
because it's a little more mechanical. So,
Right.
but in the old system, I think like the classical system, people who were starting out being animators might start out doing cleanup too. So
Hmm.
might start out doing cleanup. So you'd be cleaning up other people's drawings and probably through that, I think you'd kind of garner some skill because you're so close to the drawing.
Hmm.
You're seeing you're seeing everything because when the drawing is rough, you're seeing the construction and everything of the drawing.
Hmm.
Um, because you see all these sketchy lines and all that kind of thing. So all of that thing probably used to help to inform people um, uh, how how to go about making their own drawings when they move up from a cleanup artist, a cleanup animator to an animator.
Nice, nice. So once again, want to say welcome to everyone that is inside the chat. Now, Kevin, there's a question I want to ask you. It's almost like a legacy question, because there may be persons here inside the chat that have doodled before and never thought that the doodles would take them anywhere. I certainly have doodled before. I could show you my secondary school books as proof. But you never knew that they would have taken you to producing stuff like Temple in the Sea, Temple of the Sea, sorry, as scraps.
Oh, Temple in the Sea, yes, Temple in
Temple
the Sea,
Okay.
yeah.
But what legacy? What would you like to be remembered for? Like down the lane, what would you like to be remembered for in terms of the work that you're producing? What kind of memory would you want to have left of Kevin Richard Bhall?
Well, I mean, I would like for the kind of the whole body of work to eventually be kind of accepted, you know, but just as long as you know, somebody along the line see, because what we're doing here is kind of a continuum, you know. People started out drawing with like a burnt stick in a cave somewhere, you know. Somebody pick up a stick at some point and started to draw something on the wall, and you know, we kind of carry on that instinct inside of us to draw, you know. Back then they would imagine that these things were moving, you know, and now we could really make them move. Right? And I hope that somebody sees whatever it was, just something that I did, and you know, they take up the stick from there and they do something, you know, bigger, something that we can imagine, you know. So all we could hope to be is really just a small part of a continuum, you know. And well, I mean, I like seeing so much of my work all over the place, even if it is stolen, you know. That is you know, yeah, I always say, you know, when I see something of mine up on Pirate Bay or wherever it is, that is an accomplishment, you know. That is how you know you made it, you know.
Yeah, it's almost like an advertisement for you, a promotion for you that could find out more.
Is that, you know, and I mean, everybody ends up there, you know. Anybody who's anybody ends up there, you know. So hopefully one day somebody could rip off my work in a big way, you know. But you know,
that's good. Though. That's good. I like that answer. I like that answer. I'm gonna check now. Gonna chat now with the guys to see what questions we may have for Kevin. And any of the persons in the chat would have had questions throughout the talk. So if you could have any questions come up now that we can enter this question and answer segment. Any questions we have for Kevin? All right. So from Author Girl 44, she says, stunning work. Have your international viewers that find you through the doodles then come across your other projects, such as Temple in the Sea? Has that led to any unexpected cross-cultural exchange?
Well, not directly, you know, but they are often surprised to see. Well, thanks, by the way, thanks so much, you know, for your comments on my work. But they're often surprised to see that I do this other kind of thing, you know, other kind of animation that's so totally divorced from you know, a rock being killed by a rock crusher, you know. So and I kind of get to introduce them to that too, you know, because like I have a few friends and fans and stuff on some of the online platforms, and when some of my work was shown on one of the local on this digital summer camp that I mentioned, I was able to show them, you know, yeah, and by the way, this is like a totally different kind of animation, you know, that you probably wouldn't imagine that this lunatic was also doing, you know, because it's a totally, I mean, everybody had different sides to them, you know, so it was interesting for them to see that, you know, and I look forward to more of that happening, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. That's great. Because as from speaking with you and speaking about the cross-cultural exchange, I myself I'm a writer and a poet, and I'm also really into comic books. As you would have seen, I recognize the video game from the thing, you know, straight off the bat. I really love the whole comic book nature, you know, and how I always hoped that I could either write a comic book or I could work with an animator to bring one of my stories to life. Have you ever worked with other writers? Bringing, because most you were speaking about most things that don't involve scripts and what's not. But have you ever worked with other writers to animate their work, or any plans to do something like that?
Well, Tebrin, you see, actually, had a writer that Anu Lakan, who kind of fleshed out the story that I had and added some more elements to it. Okay. You know, so that was probably the only time that I worked with a writer. Mm-hmm. But they didn't come to me with a script. You know, I started the project with another friend of mine, Aaron Ramsing. He not an animator, but you know, he kind of helped me to write the first draft. And many of my other projects too, he's also involved in kind of in the beginning, you know. But usually, sometimes people send me the videos of stuff to draw over. That is not exactly writing, you know, but it's like, this is not something that you might have found or thought to draw on, you know. So, I mean, there's kind of that interaction, you know. There's like, because on some of these sites like Imajo and Reddit and on Instagram, people message me. They know I'm the guy that does this, or one of the guys. There's a lot of other guys that do this kind of thing too. Right. But I like to think that I'm known for the more brutal ones, you know, the most violent ones. That is mine, you know. So people they send stuff to me, you know, and that's kind of a way that the audience could actually interact in a way that you couldn't have before, you know. And I mean, you know, I'm definitely interested in comics too. I've actually worked with somebody else's artwork. They produced a traditional comic, right? They produced a traditional comic, and I did the animation for it in like a motion comic then, you know. So there's like, I don't know if you're familiar with that. They're like comics that have some basic animation to them. Yeah. Yes. You know, yes. You have a cape and it billows, you have some fire and you can make it wave, that sort of thing, you know. So it gives that, because, you know, a comic is one kind of product that you see on, you know, one kind of site, but you could also put it on YouTube and put voice and stuff to it, add the extra dimension to it, and kind of bring comics into a different way. So that is one way that I work with a writer, but he was also an artist, you know. That's really cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. It's actually a way to repurpose that content as well. That's really good. Oh, and so that's a quick question from Nino. Speaking about that kind of bringing that animated comic style, is that maybe a more affordable route to go? Like if you can't afford the big production of animation, is that a more affordable route to go if you have like your stills animated like that?
Yeah, definitely, because you know you're not really going in and drawing every frame. Right. You have you know, you could do things in kind of a cutout way, you know, and but you can still get a story across, and you can still put voiceover and stuff on it, you know. So it kind of in between the lines, you know.
Nice.
So it's kind of an interesting way to do it, you know.
Great. All right. So let's see. Any other questions we have there? Another question can pop up here now. Okay. Oh, this is from Annalie Davis herself. Good afternoon, Annalie. She asks, what has been the role of the platforms like Anime Caribe, TTFF, and the TT Film Company in your development and expansion? And are you connected with Jamaican animation studios and their animators? So you got two questions in one there from Annalie. So the first one is, what has been the role of platforms like Anime Caribe, TTFF, and the TT Film Company in your development and expansion?
Well, you know, Anime Caribe had shown, you know, some of the films that had shown there, you know, so they have a kind of a platform for that. And well, Trinidad Tobago Film Company helped me to fund the Temple in the Sea, you know, so that was literally would not have been possible without them. Right. And the film festival now also offered an avenue to show my film, Temple in the Sea in the cinema and thing, you know. It's always kind of a, you know, even though we're dealing with so much stuff online now, you know, to see a show on the big screen is, you know, kind of still a cool thing, you know. So we're definitely glad to have that chance from them, you know. With respect to Jamaican animation studios, not so much, you know. I imagine plenty of them working on a small, I wouldn't say it's a micro business, a nano business, you know, smaller than micro. So the budget often just isn't there to collaborate. You know, we're working on such small projects that, you know, it's really just probably because of a lack of funding. You know, if there was something bigger, for example, with Temple in the Sea, you know, I had to do 99% of the animation on that. And all the editing and so on, you know, because the budgets just don't exist for larger collaboration, larger projects like that, you know.
Yeah, understood. Well, that was about mostly the Jamaican studios, but what's the collaboration like between yourself and the other Trinidadian animation studios that exist in Trinidad?
Well, there isn't really too much collaboration because of some of the same problems mentioned. You know, there's just not much of a budget to really work on. You know, so I mean, when this whole COVID thing hit, you know, it's like everybody was saying, oh, everybody had to stay home and work from home in their own studio, and I was like, yeah, what is the difference? You know, that is how we have to do it anyway. You know, I have never known any other way. You know, so yeah, so most. I mean, it's not most of the animation just has to be like that because, you know, the budget just aren't there, you know, unfortunately. Maybe one day, but and even when collaboration does take place, it takes place in, you know, digitally, like how it has to take place now, you know, sending files to people and this sort of thing.
Well, I'm sure that as people see more and more of your work coming out, see the passion that you're doing, then that day will come soon. They're going to recognize the value of what you're putting in, Kevin. All right, I think we have
knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood. I think we have one more question. Yes, we have one more question. Can we get that last question? Okay, so this is from I Love This Rock, and they're asking, is there a script or story that you would like to animate?
Well, there's so many things, you know. Again, it's always up to the budget, you know. Like, for example, the Scraps project, you know, that is something that, as you see, I've done a lot of development on. But because of the budget, like I tried to run it on Indiegogo a while back, but I was only able to raise about probably 25% of the budget, you know. But I still always chip away at it, but not that the budget would have allowed me to essentially do nothing else for 6 months or whatever and really get it out there, you know. So that in animation, but in animation, the time is really money to produce it. So it's not easy to focus on something that you may not get direct money from immediately. You have to focus. You have to keep your lights on now. Yeah. You know. So you have to focus on what's most immediate. But you know, it will eventually get done. You know, it's you always have to keep chipping away at other things. You know.
All right. Well, we actually have one last question. This is actually from a man called DJ Simmons. It's actually a question regarding some experience that I went through, where my wife and we had the opportunity to work with a young lady who was creating a video game that was based in Barbados. So she was from Europe. She flew here, and we actually helped her to write the video game, and we lent our voices to the video game as well. It was an environmental video game for the computer. So I was wondering, are there any opportunities? Are there any small video game developers in Trinidad or maybe in the region that you may know of internationally? Are there any video game developers that you would like to work with, even if you don't know them now? Is there anyone in the future in the video game industry that you would like to work with to provide your animation services?
Yeah, definitely. You know, there's so many of them. Like especially on probably Twitter, there's a lot of great, like, maybe you've seen one of the animations that I produced. There was pixel art. I'm not sure if you noticed it, but surprisingly, after all these years, that is like a style from Chrono Trigger, you know, that has kind of come back. You know, so you kind of see a newfound appreciation for it. And you know, that is a form of animation that I do also, that could be used in these kind of, they're modern games but retro styled, you know. So there's so many of these people, and that is why that is why using this platform is so important. You need to have your work out there in so many places that wherever somebody happens to see it, they could contact this guy.
Nice.
So definitely, and we're working remotely now, so being here isn't a problem. Like even now I'm working with people, I think they're in New York and Florida, all over the place, So yeah, and this person found me on Instagram. Hopefully some video game person will find me on Twitter or somewhere, wherever.
Yeah.
Because I'm open for anything. I'm up for anything,
That's great. That's really good, man. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank every single one of you who logged onto the chat. I had a really, really, really good conversation with Kevin. I'm sure he did too. Kevin, do you have any last words that you would like to say to the persons in the chat? Anybody you would like to thank personally? Anything you want to say for the last?
Well, I'd just like to thank Catapult again for hosting this thing, and all the partners for getting this thing together, because it's really something that's kind of needed in the region, that where the arts is like, just the most neglected thing, but it's potentially the thing that could make the most money, I mean, Trinidad is oil, and that kind of running out, and even when they have it, it don't sell for as much, so it have other things that we could sell, so hopefully this is something that would be able to really show what we could do. And I don't want to thank anybody specifically because I'm going to forget people, there's all of my friends that both in Trinidad and online, you really had to kind of depend on friends to just have another pair of eyes on stuff that you do, so just thanks to all the help that I received along the way. There's many bad things about Trinidad, but there's many good things too, and mostly is people,
True. And just give people your Instagram handle one more time so they can follow you.
Yeah, is Bloopel the Bleep one. I think they'll probably put it in the description so that they could please follow it, because you're not going to remember it, I was signing something and I spelled it wrong, recently. So it's just something that took off, So if I could do it over again, well, I might still choose that, just you can't mistake it at least,
Well, thank you so much, Kevin. I had a really good conversation. Hope we did.
Okay, thanks.
Really learned a lot from speaking to you as well. And what you said is very, very true, where we have to, like, for example, in Barbados, they always speak about sugarcane and tourism. There are other ways in which our islands can generate revenue, especially as we're coming into new ages where digital is where it's at, and this is where we could actually generate revenue. So people like you, sir, are the people that are blazing trail. And I hope to see much more work from you, and we'll be in touch, man. Definitely be speaking with you after this conversation. All right. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thanks so much to Catapult and the teams over at the American Friends of Jamaica, Kingston Creative, and of course Fresh Milk for making these series happen. Stay tuned and come back again at 4 p.m. This afternoon, and I'll be having another discussion with another incredible artist. This time we're leaving Trinidad and Tobago and we're going over to Jamaica, and I'm going to be speaking to the man 5 Steez. He's a hip-hop artist, hip-hop musician that is making waves in Jamaica right now. So please make sure you come back at 4 o'clock to get something to eat, chill out for a little bit and join myself, DJ Simmons, back here once again at 4 p.m. for that discussion. And then obviously, in closing today's salon, I want to express thanks again to the Catapult partners and for all of you who watched the video and tuned in, had your questions. Thank you so much. Thanks to Kevin. Thanks to the whole team for making this presentation possible. Thank you and goodbye.